Well, hello there. Back in October of 2006, something big happened for Defensive Comics. Marvel Ultimate Alliance dropped. It's a game I spent hundreds of hours in, talked about in nearly every video on the channel, and it's a game that to this day still gets modded and receives new updates and even levels from the Marvel mods community. Quite honestly, it may be the best Marvel game ever made. But did you know that in that same year of 2006, in the same month even, DC released their very own game in that style called Justice League Heroes to compete with Marvel. It's a game many people forgot ever existed and maybe never even played. And as Marvel Ultimate Alliance gained world fame amongst gamers and moved on to sequels, DC stayed in the shadows and never really got a good Justice League game ever again. But here's the thing, it's actually pretty good. I've played through all of Justice League Heroes, and today I will tell you why this game still has fans, why you might want to try it, and why despite everything it fell in battle to Marvel and was ultimately considered a failure and the last AAA Justice League game ever. Except for Injustice maybe. Let's begin. The game was developed by Snowblind Studios, developers of Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance and Champions of Norath, that were all successful games and earned good money. The plot is also notable because it was written by Dwayne McDuffie, who did Justice League Unlimited, as well as a couple of movies such as Crisis on Infinite Earths, Justice League Doom, and All-Star Superman. The game starts off strong as we immediately get control of Batman and Superman. They notice a robot army taking over the city, and here's where we get the first taste of gameplay. Each character in the game has a light and heavy attack that can be comboed in multiple ways, including launching your enemies up, stunning them, or simply hitting them till they fall. Every character has 5 abilities on top of that, and what I can give the game is that they are all very unique. Superman is self-explanatory as we have heat vision, cold breath, as well as stronger moves like super uppercut and his flying attack that's very good. Batman of course has a beta rank throw, but he can also summon literal bats to overwhelm his opponents. Overall, if we're looking just at these two, it's nothing too fancy and seems basic. But when we move to other characters, the game starts shining a lot more in my opinion. Green Lanterns, for example, both John Stewart and Hal Jordan, are very tactical and are all about trapping their opponents and then using their abilities on distance to crush their enemies, which is very different from someone like Flash, who actually does feel fast in this game, to the point where the camera will lose you because of how fast you go. He always gets close to his opponents and is very good at crowd control, unlike Green Lanterns that I just mentioned, who are good at singling out targets. Now the game doesn't stop there and gets more creative with characters like Zatanna and Martian Manhunter. Zatanna is all about being an awesome support. Not only can she heal everyone, but she is also able to turn all of her enemies into bunnies, which is a big help against big groups, and she creates lots of power-ups too. Martian, on the other hand, has phasing abilities, and can pretty much ignore all enemies and walls near him. On top of that, he can go into a monster mode and increase his damage by a lot against enemies. I gotta give this game one thing. In here, characters feel very unique and creative, to the point where most characters in Marvel Ultimate Alliance will not be as fun to play as, I'll tell you that. Now, even though this is all fun and stuff, what makes it all come together is level structure. For example, on one of my favorite levels in the game, where Superman and Martian go to Mars, certain enemies will use kryptonite traps that one-shot Superman, but our other favorite alien is not affected by them at all. And of course, later in the level they start using fire traps, which Superman can ignore, but Martian will feel a lot of pain with. Same things can be seen with Green Lanterns, Flash, and other characters. Now, before we dive any deeper, I think it's probably worth talking about the actual plot of the game. As I mentioned, the game starts with Batman and Superman fighting a robot army in Metropolis.
We're going to try and get into Star Labs and help those people. Superman out.
Terminate target. Destroy all life forms.
Impressive. Let's wreck them.
They begin smashing their way to Star Labs to get to the bottom of who's at fault, and as they get inside, they realize Brainiac is on the loose, and he has some good old evil plans brewing up. They destroy his robot copy, and Brainiac himself escapes.
We've been had.
At the same time, Zatanna and Martian Manhunter are doing their own little side quest and stopping the villainous Queen Bee and her hive outbreak. First time I'm seeing this character. They kick her ass and ultimately Metropolis gets saved, but Brainiac is already at work somewhere in Russia this time, trying to launch nuclear missiles with the help of villains Key and Killer Frost. Batman tracks them down, but is unable to beat them and gets thrown down an elevator. Then Flash and Green Lantern get on the case and actually get the job done. They defeat one of the villains, Key, then Wonder Woman and Zatanna go for the other one and defeat Killer Frost. But good old Brainiac has something brewing once again, this time on Mars.
What's the missile aimed at?
Mars. The Tharsis Ridge.
The missiles were modified to allow for interplanetary flight.
Brainiac's trying to free the White Martians.
They destroyed nearly all life on my home planet before I was able to imprison them in suspended animation.
Superman and the Martian go to Mars, where we play one of the best levels in the game as I mentioned. They prevent Brainiac from freeing the White Martians, who are the bad Martians I suppose. But the villain got what he wanted from Mars already apparently, and starts his final plan. He frees and buffs up Gorilla Grodd and tells him to take over all of Earth, while he himself launches an attack from space with some super ships he got from Mars. So the team divides. Supes and Wonder Woman are fighting off the ships in space, while everyone else are fighting Grodd and his goons on Earth. This part of the game is very important because this is where we get access to the full roster of our heroes finally, and we can check customization. We have the main Green Lanterns duo with Hal Jordan and John Stewart, but we also have this Kyle guy, and I don't know who he is. We also have Green Arrow, Hawkgirl, Huntress, and Seaman. Every character except for the bottom cast have 3 additional costumes, and some of them are pretty badass, like Batman Beyond costume and Earth 2 Superman. All of these guys team up and succeed by kicking Gorilla Grodd's butt. They then come back to Watchtower, only to find out that while everyone were busy, freaking Doomsday appeared and took over the Watchtower, so they have to deal with him too. Once that's done, the team suits up for what seems to be the final mission. They fly directly to Brainiac's main ship.
So we'll split up and search the place in teams. Be careful. I'm getting bad vibes off this place.
Needed magic to figure that out, did you? Stay alert. Our comlinks aren't gonna have much range down here.
And after like 2 more hours, my Superman and Batman finally find Brainiac and destroy him, along with 200 more of his robots. But when the main villain is beaten, goddamn Darkseid pops up. He annihilates all of Justice League, except for Superman, turns Earth into his domain, and becomes its supreme ruler. The end. Alright, it's not the end. We have 2 more levels we're not done with. Instead of dying, Justice League was sent to another dimension thanks to the Mother Box that saved them. And this is where we get some of the more frustrating levels, okay? Batman and Zatanna have to figure out how to bring everyone back. And that includes going through a giant maze of infinite enemies and portals. Like legit, I've spent close to an hour in here, Jesus. But no one said taking down Darkseid would be easy. In the end, the duo figures out how to get back to Earth, and the rest of the heroes get saved by them as well. Once back, they free Superman, who was chained up on a big podium for everyone to see, and the Man of Steel goes berserk. The team has to try and catch up with him as he's rushing towards Darkseid, destroying everything in his path. And right before reaching his room, Batman catches up to him.
Then I think we can do business.
What's the plan?
We attack in waves, minimize the chance of us all being defeated at once.
Once we're committed, we don't stop until it's over. One way or the other.
Only one way. Darkseid's going down.
This fight is the biggest challenge in the game because the guy has 3 phases and a lot of damage to give out. This is also the only fight where all members of League are participating. The way it works is as soon as one member goes down, next one in line immediately replaces them. And this goes on up until either all members are dead or all of Darkseid's health bars are down. Eventually, of course, the heroes succeed and it's a good ending. Darkseid is imprisoned once again. And I'll be honest, plot is not the biggest appeal of this game. It's a classic story of the already established team taking on a big bad with a plot twist you saw coming since the very beginning. But it's just enough to get you through the 7 or 8 hours it'll take you to beat the game. Now I spoke about a lot of positives, but let's face the facts. At the end of the day, the game failed. And to be blunt, there is one reason for it. It tried to compete with Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and it's not on the level, okay? First of all, the game goes non-stop. It does not give you any time to breathe and enjoy the actual levels and scenery. Remember how every time you succeeded in defeating big villains in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, you get back to your hideout and rest? you talk to other characters, learn more lore, and that location always changes. We start in Stark Tower, then once it gets taken away we go to Strange's house. Once that gone we chill in Asgard. Now imagine our first hideout could be in Metropolis, next one could be in Wayne Manor, next one could be in Watchtower. There was a lot more that could have been recreated, but sadly, the game moves from fighting levels to fighting levels immediately. And after about 4 or 5 hours, even though it's fun playing as these characters, it starts feeling like a chore. On top of that, did you see how many heroes Marvel Ultimate Alliance has? Now compare it to this game. And I'll give them this, Justice League, as I said, feels very unique. They are fun to play with. The creativity with some of them feels stronger than most characters in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but it's not enough. Final nail in the coffin for this game was the fact that you cannot choose who you play as on most levels. This is done because levels are designed for characters you play as, like the Mars level I mentioned of course. But for most players at this point, this was just another disadvantage added to the pile of comparisons against Marvel Ultimate Alliance. By the end, the game received mixed scores and was averaging at about 6 out of 10 on most outlets, and 20 years later to this day, we're still waiting for a good Justice League video game. If you like my content, even though this is something new I've never done before, please subscribe and like. Next video will be my long promised Deadpool marathon, this time I'm giving you my pinky promise. See you next time. Bye bye.